let me hear some of your own stories. I'll share one personal one. I was actually a student at the time, and I was working in a shop, like a major big shop. So there's a huge warehouse and below it, and I was down there doing something one day, and we were stock taking or something like that. They were cleaning up the stores or whatever it was, and we had moved. All the stock was brought in, put on the pallets on one end of the storeroom and all these aisles, and we had moved all them out from one side of the warehouse to the other so we could clean out the floor where they were at. So I was doing that morning, had them all moved out. Those little pallet trucks, if you know the ones I'm talking about, it's just like the two forks, and there's a handle on it. You can press the handle and it brings the forks up. If you know the ones I'm talking about, you know. But this new student came in, and he was sent down to help me and the guy that was actually running the warehouse at that time, just get everything sorted. So he came down, didn't say anything for a few minutes. Of course I was busy, and again I had everything moved out, the floor and all, swept out, cleaned up and whatnot, and I was starting to put all the stuff back in again. So he stood and he watched me for about 4 pallets worth of stuff. Now I was coming across with the pallet truck, lifting up a pallet, bringing it along, setting it into place. Now the kid had been in the store for a few months at this time. He knew the layout of the stores, and he watched me taking the first one over, coming back to get the next one, and 2 or 3 pallets worth went back in again. And he says, finally speaks up, and he said that the manager had sent him down to help us out. So at this stage, the guy that runs the stores had to go to the main office to do something, and he needed my help for that. Whatever it was, it just left my head now. Whatever it was, we had to go to the main offices in the place, sort something out to come back down. So the 2 of us went off. Before we left, I says to the kid, do us a favour, while we're gone, could you move the rest of the stuff back? And I actually physically brought the pallet truck over to him and set it in front of him, and off I went. So we were gone 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes. We came back down to the stores again. We're expecting like that amount of time, and whatever amount of pallets was left should have been put back into place, and we were good to go do something else. But we come down straight through the door, and first thing we see is all the pallets still in the same place we had left them before we had gone, and the pallet truck where I had left it beside this kid. Now he hadn't got the common sense to actually take the pallet truck and move the pallets with that. What he had done was he had went out and found an empty pallet, brought it in, took it across to where the place, to this part of the store where the pallets were going back to, set the empty one down. Then he walked back to the full pallets, and he had started lifting individual items, and he was walking backwards and forwards, taking them from one pallet to the other. And probably in my mind the first real head scratcher I came across, and I'm just like, what? How are you not using the pallet truck to do that? And he said, you didn't tell me to use it. So I'm like, that's one of these things where I kind of felt like you shouldn't have to been told to do something, because you stood and you watched me doing 3 or 4 pallets back and forth, and then I actually physically brought it over and not just set it in front of you, but actually pushed the handle towards your hand, and you actually took the handle out of my hands. So even now thinking on it, I'm kind of blown out of the water and just speechless. But that is the level of stupidity you're going to come across in the workplace. Even driving these days, getting out on the roads, I have got to the point now, it stresses me out driving home from work. I love driving, but see rush hour traffic at the minute, there is, here in Northern Ireland, there are some drivers out there at the moment that you know, you would swear they had a death wish in some of the manoeuvres that they're pulling out in the real world. Yeah, I could share so many examples, but this video has gone on long enough. So please, once again, feel free to share it along. If you're listening on the podcast, throw your stories under the email there at here'syotters@gmail.com. I want to hear some real head scratchers from you guys. If you've got any stories, love to hear them, so get them in there. Right, that's going to do it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until the next one, whatever you're doing, stay safe, and I'll talk to you all then.